Oh, what are we reading? This is The Polar Express. Oh, this is a good one. All right. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend told me I would never hear. The ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not the ringing bell of bells. From outside came the sound of hissing steam and a squeaky metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house.
Train doesn't?
It's a train, yeah.
Train doesn't?
Mm-hmm. And it's snowing?
Snowing?
Yeah. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it, and the conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest. He looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe, and I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. All aboard! He cried as I ran up to him. Well, he said, are you coming? Where? I asked. Why, to the...
Of course.
To the... This is the... Why, to the...
North Pole.
North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express. I took his outstretched hand and pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other people.
Hat up doesn't?
He does have a hat on, yeah.
Hat up doesn't?
He does take his hat off when he goes to sleep.
He's going to sleep.
Yeah, you don't wear a hat when you sleep. Yeah. The train filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgown. We had sung Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot chocolate as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of the town and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there was no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seems as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along the peaks and through the valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills and the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the Great Polar Ice Cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing a frozen sea. There, said the conductor, is the
North Pole.
North Pole. The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone in the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. They were gathering at the center of the city. The conductor told us that is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas. Who receives the first gift, we all asked. And the conductor answered,
You can choose one of you.
he will choose one of you. Look, shouted one of the children, the elves! Outside we saw hundreds of elves as the train drew closer to the center of the North Pole. We slowed to a crawl, so crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I had ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly, and he marched over to us, and he pointed to me and said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh, and the conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now, what would you like
For Christmas.
for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I imagined, but the thing I wanted most was not inside Santa's bag. One that I wanted more than anything was one of the silver bells from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled, and he gave me a hug. He told one of the elves to cut the bell from the reindeer's harness. The elf tossed up the bell up to Santa, and he stood holding the bell high above his head and called, "The first
Yeah, for Christmas.
The first gift of Christmas." That's right. The clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh and Santa shouted the reindeer's name and cracked his whip. The team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and then he disappeared into the cold, dark, polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I lost the silver bell of Santa's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children and I stood in my doorway and waved goodbye.
Ooh, goodbye, train Distant.
Goodbye, train.
Goodbye, train Distant.
Yep, the train's gotta go. And it's snowing. I sadly left the other children. I stood in my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out loud. He cupped his hands around his mouth and said, "Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!" he shouted as the Polar Express let out a long blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one more small box behind the tree, and it had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell, and there was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell and it made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. Then my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." And father said, "Yes, it's broken." When I had shaken the bell, my parents had not heard the sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear the sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all
Chewy
who
believe.
truly believe. All right, all done.